The music started, the ballerina got up on stage. I got up and went and danced with her. This was something quite unusual, but unusual has always brought me great success. And that's what I want to talk about in this review. We're talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the difference between the rich and the poor. Me getting up on stage was one of those things that makes a huge difference. I had just started working for this company selling tickets to this concert. All of my colleagues had never been to this concert. They had no idea what happened there. When I went to sell these tickets, I could paint a picture. I could tell the people about my dance with the ballerina, about the kind of music that was played, about the atmosphere. I was able to sell so much better because I did things differently. This book talks about how the rich are different from the poor, what those differences are, and how you can use that to your advantage to also achieve financial freedom. Another really interesting thing about this night when I danced with the ballerina, the man that I sat next to was also financially free, and he told me about his journey with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He suggested I read the book, which I very promptly did. This man invested in real estate, he had shares, he did all sorts of different really amazing things, and he just traveled the world having fun because he was financially free. So let's get into the book itself. So I'm actually looking at the 20-year anniversary version, and the first chapter in this version talks about what life was like 20 years ago and now, and how there is still a lot of similarities even though the world has changed. Robert Kiyosaki often likes to talk about some of the crises that he sees coming up on the horizon, and he definitely does that in this chapter as well. In chapter 1, he talks about the rich don't work for money, which is absolutely true, and he talks about why that's the case and how they are able to do it. In chapter 2, Why Teach Financial Literacy, he talks about why it's so important to learn about finance and why if you learn these things, you're going to be able to get ahead. In chapter 3, he talks about business. In chapter 4, he talks about the history of taxes and the power of corporations. And in chapter 5, how the rich invent money. You heard that right, they invent money. Then he talks about how to learn and how to not work for money. And in chapter 7, how to overcome obstacles. Chapter 8, how to get started. And chapter 9, if you want even more information, how to go from just being able to start to actually being able to succeed with the lessons from this book. So what are you going to get out of this book? You're going to get an amazing insight into how the economy works in a basic and fun way. So it's not complicated, it's not boring, it's really fun. I loved reading this book. You're going to get an insight into how and why the rich think differently and how it can create amazing opportunities for you. One of the challenges when you want to go down the path of wealth creation and financial freedom is self-sabotage. You want one thing, but your brain is working against you in another way. This book also has a couple of basic tools for reducing this sabotage, but I would highly recommend other books as well and joining clubs and meeting people in order to be able to work on this aspect a lot more. There are also some methods that the rich use to get ahead. Most of these are still relevant even today, even though laws change and different things happen. However, you do want to join clubs and create a network and learn how to talk to wealthy people so that you can meet people for even more ideas. This book only scratches the surface of the methods that the rich use to get ahead. And how to get started. The path to financial freedom is a little bit like when I got my license. I got handed my license and was told that I probably think that I know how to drive now, but that is definitely not the case. I had obviously experienced a couple of things while I was learning, but there were many more things that I needed to learn that I would start learning once I got on the road and practiced. 1, if I learned those lessons, it would keep me alive, and 2, it would make me a much better driver than most people who believed that they were already proficient when they got their license. So it's the same with wealth creation. You can read some of the books, but you really need to spend time with quality people that are successful and know what they are doing in order to be able to continue learning and achieve your financial freedom goals. And lastly, writing style and content. I have heard that Robert Kiyosaki is a little bit all over the place when he speaks and when he writes down his initial ideas. But this book was written from the point of view of a 9-year-old being taught by somebody teaching a 9-year-old. So it is very easy to understand, easy to read. There are great stories. And it's been edited in a way that it makes a lot of sense, and it is beautifully written, unlike the way I have heard from people that I know personally that know Robert Kiyosaki, the way in which he usually writes. So it is a great book. In conclusion, it is a must read, and I'm going to score it 6 out of 5 because it is one of the classics. It has been in the top bestseller lists for years and years and years, and recently made a comeback as well. So definitely worth the read. So I hope you enjoy reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'd love to know your thoughts. Leave some comments. Make sure you subscribe. And remember to make the switch to unlock your rich, because doing things differently is going to get you the greatest of successes.